Hey folks, Phil Gallagher here for Daily D&T. Again, we are playing with the Lurrus deck list today. Check out the deck tech from Monday if you need some more. I would like to play first. Yes, let's reveal that Lurrus. Okay. No companion from our opponent. I recognize this avatar. I feel like I should know what my opponent is playing. They played Eldrazi and Belcher recently. So this is not even a good hand against either one of those decks. Like, none of these cards really do anything versus Eldrazi. Like, the Vial is kind of nice, but I don't have any payoff. And if my opponent is playing Belcher, I don't have anything. If my opponent was playing Belcher, wouldn't they just be playing Gyruda, though? So, like, how am I supposed to beat Eldrazi? Just, like, have Swords to Plowshares, get to Lurrus mana, kill them in the air, somehow have infinite chump blockers. Versus how do I beat Belcher game 1? Beat Belcher game 1 is have Thalia. I don't know. Maybe I can't throw this back without knowing what my opponent is on. It feels like Eldrazi is likely. I'm not sure that I get the luxury of throwing back the Ether Vial hand when I'm on the play, though. Alright, Eldrazi confirmed. Hopefully we can trade a Mom for a Mimic. That is not what's happening. The Hawk here is very good. It represents a lot of card draw, and it makes the Vial very strong. So it won't trade with an Endless one, but I think it's important to play this turn. Because otherwise a Thought-Knot Seer can take it next turn, and then that's like taking 4 cards from me. Which is devastating. I will trade 2 for 1 for the Endless one just to take it off the table in all likelihood. That's a trade that looks much more appealing after I draw 3 birds. Neat. So Smasher is going to be hard to beat. So this is kind of weird. I was planning on, like, blocking Charming Prince, blinking something. But if a Smasher is going to come down, and it's pretty likely if my opponent didn't have a Thought-Knot Seer there, that they kept the hand on the power of Smashers. With that, I just need to trade 2 bodies for this Endless one. And then stack up a bunch of power later to deal with a Smasher. So how am I going to navigate this game to beat the Smasher? It may be that I'm not actually going to trade off bodies for the Endless one. I'm going to have the opportunity to do it, but I think my current plan is block Endless one, blink it, and then trade 3 bodies for the Smasher. Technically could have waited till damage was on this, but that's not going to be relevant. We can go always no to that. Okay, now we've got choices. I can just play Lurrus as a lifelinker, which makes attacking with everything notably worse for my opponent. Wastelanding my opponent definitely does things. I think I want to set up Lurrus for the future. This would mean that a dismember from my opponent would be pretty crippling. I think that's okay. It'll make life awkward for our opponents. Alright, they have in turn made life very awkward for me with that draw. So I'll be wastelanding that Caracas. Oh god, another Smasher. I don't think I beat this. We're gonna try. But I don't think it happens. Alright, so I need 5 power to kill this Smasher. So that means playing a Squadron Hawk is fine. Alright. So let's figure out this turn cycle. So if I tick this file up, and I Lurrus, I gain chump blockers, but then I never do anything with this file again, and I'm priced into wastelanding my opponent's Caracas. I can trade Lurrus and something like Charming Prince for the Smasher, leaving my opponent with a 4/4. I think Lurrus is lifelink, or Charming Prince is life gain. Hello. What does that do? It means I can block with the Lurrus and bounce. So I can block Lurrus on Endless One bounce, and then I have to deal with Reality Smasher. So like, this happens, this happens, this happens, yes, Lurrus. We Charming Prince. And I guess we gain life. So that means that Reality Smasher is dealing me 0 every turn. I will need to draw more land. I can trade with Smasher if I think I can beat this without it, but I don't know that I can. I can also just, like, not jump block with Charming Prince this turn, and then if I draw a land, I can work towards Remorseful Cleric plus Charming Prince. Or I guess... So I can do this, take the 5. Then next turn have... two bodies in play that can potentially trade with the Endless one and make it so that I don't have to bounce the Lurrus. Like, getting the Thalia from the graveyard and bouncing that instead is also pretty valuable. This game got super weird. I'm gonna fold to a Thought-Knot Seer. Yeah, okay. Well, I guess I'll wait till I take the Lurrus. Yeah, I don't feel like we're very good against Eldrazi when we're missing, like, the Flicker Wisp, Palace, Jailer, Stoneforge Mystic portion of the deck. And we're not really getting better for post-sideboard games. So, like, we pick up 2 Path to Exile. I guess a Walking Ballista's Seal of Cleansing is something we consider, but it's not really good. Drannith Magistrate's pretty terrible. Mother of Runes is worse. Yeah. We don't have enough cards for this matchup. So I either have to keep a speed bump or play a Seal of Cleansing. I'll play a Seal of Cleansing. I could play multiple for, like, the Ratchet Bombs and stuff. Like, Ratchet Bomb on 2 is pretty devastating, given this build. Hope of Ghirapur is also not great, but it's just like a chump blocker that I can rebuy. I will keep the multiple Wasteland hand that has a draw 3. You usually don't want to keep hands that can't interact with their creatures early. But given that I have 3 different mana disruptive elements, I think I'm fine with them, like, slipping a Mimic into play on turn 1 that I can't answer. And just going to town on their mana. The hope is that I'm just taking 6-ish damage off this Mimic before I stabilize the rest of this game. Given that it's not a soul land, I'm not sure that I want to wasteland it. I might just play Port and Thalia this turn. What bites me in the butt for doing that? Soul land plus Spirit Guide. That would take the Swords of Plowshares. But I think I'll stop the bleeding here. Because I'm not afraid of any 3-drop card. I am just afraid of Spirit Guide into a 4-drop. Yeah, like, this does nothing. The Mimic can't attack into it. I have a Source of Plowshares for that. Now I get this City of Traders. Actually, I'll probably just port down the City of Traders. And Wasteland the Cavern. Opponent can't Warping Whale me. They could Dismember the Thalia, which would be an annoyance. But otherwise, they like never get another land drop until they deal with this. Yeah, and now they're going to Wasteland my port. I'll get to play Sarah Avenger out. Yeah, all in all, pretty good for me. And I might have considered attacking with Matter Reshaper there if I were them. So I can continue to hold the ground with Thalia, or I can start attacking with Thalia. I really like attacking for 5 a turn rather than 3 a turn. And I still have the ground held via Sarah Avenger. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. It means that if my opponent slips in a Thought-Knot Seer, they'll take my 1 piece of removal for it. But I'm going to imagine that we're 3 turns off from them playing a Thought-Knot Seer. That's pretty good for me. Alright, let's go ahead and crash in. So I can play something that's slightly better defensively or slightly better offensively. Again, keeping in mind that Thought-Knot Seer is a card that exists in Magic the Gathering. Let's take our draw 3 before that takes our initial copy of Squadron Hawk, or we just like draw a Squadron Hawk. Okay, I mean, that's good. But I'm definitely the aggressor here. Okay, so we have 4 in the air over the course of 2 turns, presenting lethal. Playing another Squadron Hawk means that they can't tap an Ancient Tomb or they die the next turn. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. The Revoker represents more power on the ground, but not in the air, and I think we would like to be King of the Skies. Cool. Cool. Now we have to do that again when we're on the draw, and we can't just like wasteland them into oblivion. That's going to be harder. This hand does not do anything in this matchup. We're just going to get run over. Like, all we have is jump blockers. We don't have any reasonable way to pull ahead in the game. This has a reasonable way to pull ahead in the game, but it is not a powerful hand. I expect to lose keeping this hand, but I don't think I can throw it back. Alright, so this turn I have to make a choice of whether I play this Aether Vial or whether I wasteland them. They've kept 7, and they have an aggressive start. If they play a Thought Nuts here, it's super bad for me. It takes my Thalia, but I can hopefully trade double Charming Prince for a Thought Nuts here. I think this is probably a game that if I win, Lurrus bails me out, or like my opponent doesn't have Thought Nuts here, and then I get to wasteland them once his Vial's already in play. I think we're going to be Charming Prince and scrying towards removal, I think. I would love to just draw a piece of removal. That would make life significantly easier in terms of my decisions. Thank you. Alright. So now I can junk Ancient Tomb, Swords to Plowshares, Thought Nuts here. And hopefully buy time to let the Lurrus engine get online, and like Lurrus Charming Prince is a thing. If our opponent has more lands, it's unfortunate for me. Nice. Basic planes, please. Acceptable. We're hoping to use Charming Prince to ambush Eldrazi Mimic mid-combat. And probably scry towards more land. But it's possible that I need to cast this Charming Prince right now. Or sorry, like put in this Charming Prince right now. To make more informed decisions about what to do with my mana. Because if I know I hit a basic plains, in my next draw step, I don't want to play as Caracas out. But if it looks like I'm not going to hit basic plains, then I kind of need to play this out now. Yikes. I'm going to bottom both of those. Another thing that can occur is that I play Caracas and just use it to path to exile my own creature so that I can play Lurrus. If I spike any land. Yes. That's weird. And is like very dependent on what my opponent does with their turn. Like, if my opponent... I don't think I block that. Like, I can trade with it, but it's not really a favorable trade for me. gonna set a stop in my upkeep. Build your own land drop. Build your own land drop. So let's go always no to this. Tap this. Yes. Play this. Scry 2. Revoker is a mess. Avenger, this is turn 4. I can just play that. I think that's a fine draw. This draw means that I now have 5 power and can trade with a Reality Smasher. It also means that I'm hellbent so that a Thought-Knot Seer can't take a card out of my hand. Fine draw, that gets Lurrus in play. And I am attacking here. Ooh, wow, opponent taking the trade. Did not expect that. Unfortunately, I don't think I can afford to like play around a Dismember by waiting until I have like Caracas available to protect Lurrus. We've probably turned the corner on this one, and we probably win the game at this point. So the only question is, do I play Charming Prince pre or post combat? I think I play it pre-combat just to like guarantee that I get to do it. In case for some reason my screw it. If my opponent had Dismember, they were already supposed to Dismember. They weren't supposed to give me that option, so they don't have Dismember. There's not any one casting cost creature that can trade with me here. We're just going to scry here rather than gain life. We're already gaining 3 life a turn. We'll bottom that. We'll top the Charming Prince. This game can definitely get weird. So Lurrus only lets you cast permanent spells from your graveyard, so we can't actually get back the Caracas of the Wasteland here, just in case you are worried about that. And I don't think I want to untap Lurrus. Alright, so now my opponent can play a Reality Smasher. And if they attack with it, I think they die. 3, 6, 7, 8. The path is very good. Kind of. Thalia is okay as well. Like, it's just another creature. I think I'm gonna take both. We have 8 showing. If I tap this vial, my opponent is just going to respond. So I don't want to show them what I have. Warping Whale doesn't do anything. Spatial Contortion. Okay, so we just bounce our good friend Lurrus here. They take 7 and go to 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to think about All Is Dust. And I need to think about Thought-Knot Seer taking a card. I essentially just don't want to overcommit to an All Is Dust. So I think I play no card here. And then at end step I can put in Thalia, or in response to a Thought-Knot I can put in a Thalia. Alright, so we ended up with the 4-1 in this league, but I don't know that the deck actually felt good. Like, the deck has severe problems. It lacks the ability to do a lot of things that normal DNT can do. Like, I can't interact with most of my opponent's permanents because I don't have Flicker Wisp. So, like, we Stone Cold lost a game 1 to Ensnaring Bridge because, like, we had literal 0 way to interact with that. We don't particularly have the endgame life gain that I would want against decks like Delver and Eldrazi. Like, we somehow managed to stabilize using Charming Prince and Lurrus that game, but I don't know that that's necessarily going to be the norm. The Drannith Magistrate in the main deck felt pretty terrible as a whole, because, like, its stats are god-awful. Like, this deck has a lot of creatures that can't effectively do damage once the board is stalled and don't have any form of evasion or first strike or anything like that. Not you, Remorseful Cleric. So, like, counting Mother Runes in there as well. Like, we have 14 creatures that, like, are very, very poor in combat. And more generally, once our opponent has any flying blocker, a huge portion of our deck is invalidated. So I think there are still severe deck building problems here, and I don't think Ether Vial was particularly good for most of the league. It definitely did things, but, like, I just don't know that Ether Vial is better than something like Lotus Petal or Chrome Mox. So, like, that's food for thought moving forward. I also don't know that I have enough oomph in this deck. So normally the Squadron Hawk builds play Force of Virtue, but we can't play that here because of Lurrus. And we don't have equipment to make our creatures larger either. So it's possible that, like, I need to begrudgingly play something like Honor of the Pure, but Honor of the Pure won't hit Hope of Ghirapur and Phyrexian Revoker. It's also possible that I could play Leonin Arbiter in this deck, but if we're not playing Chrome Mox or Lotus Petal to accelerate it out, I don't know that it's good enough. So, like, we had an okay week as far as, like, daily DNT goes, but I'm so not enthused about the deck list, despite the fact that we got good results with it. So we lost to Moonstompy, which is traditionally a very good matchup. But, like, if we sort these things again, a lot of the cards that were really good in the Moonstompy matchup just aren't here. Like, we don't have Flicker Wisp to answer Bridge or blink out Planeswalkers or reset Chalice. We don't have the Stoneforge Mystic package, which is normally very good. Like, giving your most important creature protection from red is great, or getting Jitte plus Stoneforge so that you can go and, like, shrink the Stoneforge, attack with a 0-power creature, buff the Stoneforge to deal 2 damage, get 2 more Jitte counters, repeat. Like, we lose out on that aspect as well, which is a good backdoor win. It's possible that you could put a small Stoneforge Mystic package into this deck. Like, the deck as is has how many flyers? 4, 7, 10, 12 flyers, you probably cut like 2 Dranith Magistrates for 2 Stoneforges, and like could cut like 1 Remorseful Cleric for a Jitte or something like that. Don't even know if that's actually good though. I don't know. Like there's maybe something here, but we're jumping through a lot of hoops to be able to play Lurrus, and it's potentially just correct to play a better Lurrus deck than to try and make this work in Death and Taxes. I don't have the answers to that yet, but I'd be willing to try again. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider supporting daily D&T in the future. I'll see you later.